You know what's an ad campaign that was like really better than the movie itself?
What?
All those Godzilla promos. They had like the Taco Bell. Remember his little thing like, here, lizard, 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 all that shit?
No.
Oh man, they put a lot of money into that shit.
For which movie?
For Godzilla.
Which Godzilla?
1998 Godzilla.
Oh, okay.
The
best
true
Godzilla.
Alright guys, so here we are to talk about Godzilla. 1998's Godzilla, Lee. I know you've seen this one.
It's very important to be clear about which Godzilla we're talking about because there are lots of
Very
Godzillas.
much. This
Absolutely.
one is the one that's been received the worst over the last, since Godzilla came out, I believe.
Really?
Oh yeah, people hate this movie.
Good times.
Yeah.
You know.
They call this one Godzilla in name alone. This is not Godzilla to many people.
Well, it deviates in like a lot of ways. It's more of a disaster movie in certain ways, right?
When you say deviates, it is humorous because they did give them a strict list on what the Americans could do and what they couldn't do, and they did everything they said they shouldn't do, and they didn't do all the things they had to do.
How does that work then? How are they allowed to continue to make the movie?
This is America, so we said fuck you.
We were
and
like,
put it
we
out.
don't care. They were like,
Yeah.
well, wait, and they go, nope, public domain.
Well, they
We're
were
doing
pretty
it.
tight-lipped about a lot of this. They didn't let people see the movie, so it's possible Japan saw it for the first time like when it was out.
Months after it was released.
Yeah.
No, I mean, without spoiling anything, I think that there's a really good 90-minute movie inside of this almost
2.5
hour
hour movie.
And we can get into the exact details of why that is.
Oh, we definitely will. I like this. I'm a two thumbs upper guy.
completely?
I think it's fun.
Okay.
I will say it did not need to be a Godzilla movie. It could have been anything, and it would have worked just the same. There's nothing really inherently Godzilla about this. But like, you got the fun, like 90s vibe. You got Matthew Broderick, who's always bringing the humor.
We have an ensemble cast. This is Roland Emmerich of the Stargate and a bunch of other movies I can't think of right now. Pedigree, right, does a bunch of disaster movies and a bunch of good films.
And Dean Devlin.
Dean Devlin, writing as usual. Independence Day, right, teaming up again. So it had like there's something good about it. It isn't like trash. So I don't understand if that's the reaction, right?
Now you got voice actors from The Simpsons. It's got it all.
Perfect.
So yeah, if you've seen this or don't care, follow over spoilers, and if not, pull out now.
If you need a place to rent content, you better listen. We're Cannibal Video and we eat the competition.
All right, guys, so here we are for the spoilers of Godzilla. Lee, let me hear them spoiler-filled thoughts.
Like I said, it's pretty nice with it. Roland Emmerich, Dean Devlin, like the pedigree. You go around the world, you meet everybody. Stuff starts coming together. You have running gags that are like funny. No one can pronounce his name. That's dope. Little things like that. It's like feels very Independence Day-ish. Feels very whatever, right? Problem is Godzilla dies at 90 minutes in, and then you look at the thing and you're like, what? Negative 42. What are we doing?
This is a lot longer than I remember it being.
Yes.
I'll definitely say that.
Exactly.
About the name thing, that was like an homage. The guy that like created like Godzilla's last name is that or something like that. I can't remember who it was, but I was thinking of something like that.
It's like Trobakowski or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Whatever.
But like the movie's like certainly fun. There's great characters. I love our whole like French Foreign Legion subplot. I think it's great.
Jean Reno.
The movie itself is
finest.
just full of issues though, like lots of issues.
You love your issues. I know.
like even down to like the little things, like the French Foreign Legion guy not knowing how to drive a
French
manual
Secret
car.
Service guy.
Whatever he was.
Okay. Sorry.
He didn't know how to
What
drive
did
a
you
manual car, and he's like, it's not in gear. And I'm like, I think in France they almost exclusively drive, manual
He used to
transmission.
be on the other side.
It's not in gear.
So like the scene you're mentioning is an awesome scene because I like in my memory, and I think people on the internet helped me here, but they say like we're chewing gum to look American, and like the joke is they totally do look more American.
Yeah.
But in the movie that's not what happens. In the movie, Broderick's like, let me do the talking, as if like this is not going to work. I'm like, it totally works. What are you looking at? Are we looking at different things? And then it's followed up with the whole brr, brr, and he's like, it's not in gear. So it's this weird thing of like, why is the nerd the super competent, like, I'm going to take care of all this guy, and Jean Reno is like, I'm a gum-chewing idiot that can't drive. It makes no sense.
Yeah, for them being
Ruined
like
it for
special forces, secret agent men, like almost none of them got a shot off on a baby Godzilla. Like they all just got like ripped.
And they hate
I was
coffee.
like, oh, that sucked. Well, they hate. Here's another plot
American
problem. Let's dive into the coffee for a moment here. No, I'm glad you
didn't wanna
mentioned that.
go.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
I
And the
know.
coffee probably is shit in America.
You got this coffee?
Our pastries maybe subpar to the French
Oh God!
flaky dough.
No,
but
no croissant.
No croissant? Non, monsieur.
But the issue here is, like, they're able to go buy coffee and croissants. Like, they've just evacuated the whole city, and those guys are, like, held up in New York, and they're somehow able to buy those things. Matthew Broderick is, like, a quarter of an inch from, like, where, like, shit's going down, and he goes and buys, like, a disposable camera. He buys pregnancy tests.
This is all we've got.
I'll take all of them.
Okay.
Wow, you must have quite some harem.
Well, the disposable camera was actually from vending machine, which I'm like, what the fuck is that? But the pregnancy test, like the ladies that's there, I'm like, oh, they're available with their pharmacy stuff. And I'm like, okay, I guess in an emergency you should be able to buy your medicine. But they evacuated the whole fucking city.
Essential workers.
The whole
are in
city is
there.
evacuated.
No, let's just pause because we're not going to come back to it. The disposable camera, we have the same. I want to collect these shots now of a movie where someone has a tiny in this case cardboard camera and goes and takes a picture of the big monster, goes and like notices
in
and
pitch
stuff.
black.
Oh,
He's
it's
a goddamn
amazing.
scientist.
It's so
He
good.
should know that the
Yes.
flash from that camera cannot possibly yield enough to do anything other than get this monster in his ass.
But that's the thing is like it obviously isn't, tiny little fake flash is not good enough to like get the shot, but it's good enough to alert the monster who's in the city with lights and things everywhere and all that stuff, and he's just like, what is this? It's as if the monsters can like hear the little keek, a little like noise.
Oh, they hear it.
Happens in so many movies. I love it so much. It's so corny.
I hate that. I hate just the general logistics of the movie, where they're like, all right, there's 8 tunnels and 2 bridges or whatever at Gargoyle City. Fucking explode them all.
Brick 'em up.
Fuck
Yeah.
it.
Fill them with cement, brick them up, put landmines in them, bombs. I don't care. Make sure the damn thing doesn't leave the island.
Yes, sir.
And I'm like, what? Let's like gloss over the fact that you've damaged like structurally every building in the city through your explosions and Godzilla chasing and whatever, but then you destroy all the ways into the city. Eventually this place has to open and you're causing hundreds and hundreds of millions, probably billions of dollars in damage. And it's a
almost
re-election
like
year.
the cure is worse than the disease.
Oh, 100% with this case.
In this case.
And,
yes, no.
It's ridiculous that like this firing the heat-seeking missiles and missing and like keep doing that. I'm like, shouldn't after the first second you're like, oh, it doesn't work? Because someone even calls out like, oh, this cost like his body heat is less than the buildings around him.
The heat seekers can't lock, sir. He's colder than the buildings around him.
I'm like, stop firing missiles, you asshole.
They do a lot of collateral damage, though.
For sure.
It's pretty funny. There's a scene where, like, they're like, fire at will, and Godzilla just ducks slightly, and then they destroy, like, this historic building that you've seen on, like,
The
postcards.
Chrysler Center.
That's the goddamn Chrysler building we're talking about here.
The amount
Most
of this
advanced military in the world.
ridiculous stuff like that.
Yeah.
I love the mayor guy who's just like this putz who is they're supposed to be a playoff of Siskel and Ebert there because he got a bad review on his last movie.
Thank you! Thank you! I want to thank all of you for coming out on this beautiful New York City day.
Okay, I was gonna say.
So
they
one
call
like
him,
thumbs up for the mayor, and then when his little Ebert guy or whatever quits, he's like, boo, thumbs down, fuck you. And
It's a magnificent idea.
You know what I think about you and your campaign?
Gene, wait a minute. Where are you going? I need you.
I'm like, oh, very witty.
His name is something like Ebert or something like that.
Something.
Your mayor, Mayor Ebert!
No, and he's like a famous character actor too.
I
He's
like
funny.
him.
I'm like,
He
I
reminds
like
me
that
of
guy
what's
being
his
in
Wayne Knight, the guy from Jurassic Park.
there. Yeah.
They have like a similar vibe.
Very
Same
like
Pokemon, different evolution.
that sort of
Yeah.
thing. No sweets right now. Get out of my face. Leave me alone.
I love that because I
Eating
totally
the
understand. Like,
can.
oh, we discussed this. You're not going to be having sure. I need this.
Didn't we agree that we weren't going to have any sweets until after the election?
Back off, Gene.
He needs his sugar. In
Get
the
out of here,
helicopter, Right? Because like,
Fuck off my Hershey's Kisses.
Because like everything's gone really bad. Yeah.
Yeah, and shit's definitely falling apart around him. The idea that Godzilla can even hide, I'm like, yes, this is, as I mentioned, this is the one island that he has a chance of hiding.
Yeah.
But the way he does hide, like, it's not like he crushes into a building and he's like squatting in there and hiding or something. He's in the tunnel system, and like even if he can burrow, which we see him go like from the harbor all the way to under Madison Square Garden, like through digging or whatever, like there has to be a displacement. Like when you have a rigid structure on top of you, such as like, roads and buildings, when you're tunneling through it with your body that's 8 times the size of a tunnel, there should be a bubbling, a knocking, something should be happening.
You are trying to describe the Bugs Bunny bump
Yes.
that goes
Yes.
down that Godzilla should be leaving behind. No, I
It would
know,
be earthquakes upon earthquakes. With
yes.
he's so big.
No,
like when he comes out, his head is bigger than the tunnel
Yes,
he came out of.
exactly. And his size seems to change. It seems to be weird. I don't know if he's always supposed to be the same big. Like he's obviously supposed to be like the same bigness, but there's parts where yes. His head alone is so gigantic that you're like, what is happening?
His eye was the size of the whole tunnel.
Is like a dude. Yeah, exactly. And that's crazy. For later when he's like sneezing on Matthew Broderick, it's like, what the hell is happening?
I liked that aspect where they took away his like supernatural powers and how it's just him bellowing wind, and that's like cars are flying down alleyways.
I wrote this down as like, how dare you? Because they've already deviated and made him like have shoulders and be like a human lizard man of some weird kind. I don't know. But the point is, yes, he screams and like debris just goes flying, and then a car catches on fire. And it's kind of like he's doing his breath. I'm like, screw you. No, you either give him the radioactive breath thing, or you just ignore that and say he's a real lizard. Don't try to tease me.
They alluded to that he's like, an iguana that is like twisted by his things, which as I recently saw a video of like a sea iguana, I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of similarities there. I could totally see where this is, and if you scaled it up, like, I think that's not my problem at all. He swims, yes, exactly like they swim.
And like the tail, even like a crocodile, right? That cool tail motion when he's swimming and his
that's
legs
the iguana
are kind of swelling. Yeah, it's dope. Yeah.
It reminds me of Aliens.
Yeah.
Like, it's a cool thing. The real issue is like the numbers and just like the how we say things. Like we have eggs. Roughly 200 eggs, I want to say. Yeah, and Matthew Broderick was on his little broadcast. He's like, we got eggs, so many eggs. He goes, within a year we could have 40,000.
Each one of these amazing reptiles are born pregnant. Adaptive and cunning, these 200 could become 40,000 within this year.
I'm like, okay, that applies to 200 of them are having 200 eggs. I'm like, okay, we got that'd be a lot of fucking things, but it also implies that Godzilla himself is a year or less old. And it would mean these things grow so exponentially, or that they can have eggs at a younger age, which would mean there should be littered eggs, because Godzilla, to be 200 feet tall, should have gone through many cycles by now, and the Earth should be littered with his eggs.
I think you're getting too deep. I think at this point. Right?
No. I'm not.
No. Yeah, no. I think he might have done the math on how quickly the eggs hatched or something. I don't know. I don't care about those details at all. Those don't bother me in the slightest. I feel like that's fine. Because he's just saying, problem get worse, must fix.
Oh, yes. And they definitely
like,
have to do something about it.
Yeah.
The whole nature of like, and I've been in Madison Square Garden before, and like that looked weird, and I was like, how would Godzilla even have got in there to like lay eggs in that distribution?
Picture that Godzilla in there, like pooping eggs in like a circular motion of 360 onto, because they're just on the stands. It's like the eggs are gonna watch a game or something. It's that's funny though. I like that.
A lot of it's funny. I actually really do like the young Godzillas, like these 9-foot tall raptor-esque, like kind of small T-Rexes, honestly.
Yes.
I think they're kind of cool, and there could be a whole thing there. So I think you could have ended this movie, like when like Godzilla just gets blown up and like it kind of just fades out. We got him. It shows us celebrating. The military guy kisses the girl. This and that. He gets with this, and then movie 2 would pick up and would be like, all right, but we really should see if we can find if there's a nest or anything. And then that's the whole second movie.
2 movies like shot back to back and like set up for release. Yeah, because that's the problem, is you have 90 minutes of Godzilla. He dies anticlimactically and everyone celebrates like it's Independence Day. Then it becomes about the baby.
Well, he dies.
I'm getting there. Yeah. Then you ruined everything. I'm getting there. Then everyone's celebrating, everything's happy, but now it's about the babies because there's eggs. Oh my God, right? Then we deal with the eggs, right? And then Godzilla just comes back. Yeah. And so you spent like 30 minutes dealing with like tiny, poorly rendered, Tyrannosaurus. There's a scene where they're running down a hallway where they're just like copied and pasted and like drifting down. It's very funny. It's very bad.
They said there was some errors with the tape compression and how things went. Like it was designed to be on like format X, and format X didn't come out in time, so they had to send it out on like format Y. Yeah. And they said like it makes it look way worse. They said the only true version of how it looks good is on the Blu-ray, which we don't have.
Oh, okay.
And I
So
was
maybe
like, oh, I'd like to
they've
see
been
what
able
that
to
looks like.
recover. So because some of them are really, really dodgy and
Oh,
weird
yeah.
looking. Then at the very, very end, now we've dealt with all the babies somehow because they were like right on the glass of the edge, and the
Yeah.
explosion it's a convincing explosion that they're all dead, everything's solved, and then we get a stinger of like there's an egg, and the dude jumps out and like, oh,
Yep.
okay, fine. Fine, good. I guess we're doomed.
Well, and Godzilla, after the explosion, bursts through, sees the dead babies. He goes like, "No, my babies."
That's earlier, I mean. But
That's
then
what I'm
all
saying.
the
Is
way
we
at the
jumped
very
to the
end,
stinger.
yes.
So like we
Yes.
got a little bit more Godzilla time in
no,
this sandwich.
Godzilla comes back. He's chasing them. All that stuff. They deal with that.
Some of the best
and then they do
Godzilla
that.
moments, I think, are in that chase scene, like them in
Yeah.
his mouth. I'm like,
Oh, God,
he has a
yeah.
car and some pavement in his mouth, and somehow they drive out of his mouth, land, and continue to drive.
When you say best, do you mean worse? Because that's crazy.
Oh, combo.
Okay, good. Because I agree. I actually really like how there's like a stray live wire and they give him like a root canal
Yeah.
with it, and he's like, "Arr!" And I'm like, yeah, that would probably
Like
hurt.
that
That's good
wire.
times.
I'm like, wait a minute. So that wire, it's like
going like
strung
up or
and
something.
in, and like what?
Yes. There's Christmas lights on it over
Yeah.
here. It's pretty good.
No, I think it's fun. Like a lot of it is just fun. And this is definitely made for a younger audience. It's you know, I think most of the Godzillas honestly can be totally seen by a younger audience. This is like PG-13. It's fine. I think I saw this in that age range and loved it then. I don't love it as much now, but I still appreciate the look. I like the things going on. It's riddled with plot holes and flaws and stuff. But that's to be expected with a movie this long with a large thing. But I like how they did it. I like practical effects, and we had some here. They actually made there's like a scaled full-size Godzilla like torso.
do stuff
There's a
and stuff.
guy in a suit. There's a full like city made out of like model shit. Like the old Godzillas would have been
Yeah.
done, but with totally different techniques here.
Yeah, I think some of it though still looks so weird, and like this to me is like a weird mismatch between the source material and like the team making it. Where we're like, if you're a Godzilla fan, it's like, what are you doing to my Godzilla? And if you just want to watch Independence Day and Stargate and do those movies, you're kind of like, why are you jerking me around with this? Like, oh, he's dead, he's not dead. There's aliens. There's eggs. Okay, the eggs are good. Okay, there's more eggs. Like, it's just weird. It feels clunky compared to like another movie where you would build up to one climactic, we save the day or something, right? As opposed to,
It's a very long movie. It does have more Godzilla than most Godzilla movies have, but it's so long and it's not the true Godzilla that I think it pisses people off.
Well, I think this proves don't show Godzilla that much. Oh my God.
I don't think I would have loved to have
joking,
seen
but
it
yes.
in what they, because it was supposed to be a visual effects masterpiece. Like it was supposed to be this thing that looked so great, but that weird tape problem made it look not as polished and
interesting.
finished. And I wonder how that looked because I've never seen that version. Excited too to get in there.
Because it comes off very dated now, but we're obviously watching.
It's also
Blu-ray and
it's
stuff,
it's
yes.
over 20 years old,
But
so
I
like
could
it
see
should
it,
look dated.
Well, there's movies from this era that looked better in different ways than this. That's what I mean by show him less. It's like if he's gonna look like this, don't show him so much. Imply it, do some weird
I
stuff.
don't think I had a
whatever,
problem then though. I think if you would have told me then, I'd be like, no, the movie looks great. Oh, it's Godzilla.
All
It's
CG
insane.
was bad then, yes, but
Yeah.
some of it was better than this. I feel like, yeah.
But for what they're going for, I think they hit the mark. The rest of the world doesn't agree, but
Interesting. I didn't see what the criticism was. I don't know if everybody's in my camp of like, had you made Killing Godzilla, maybe just take Killing Godzilla and put it at the 90-minute mark and just be like, done.
I think the
that
biggest
might be
problem
better.
Godzilla fans have is you killed Godzilla?
Oh.
That doesn't happen.
I don't mean, no. Godzilla fans are not the reason this has like 11% or something on. It has very low Rotten Tomatoes, right? It's like comically low.
Well, I
Everyone
do
hates this
think
movie.
that is definitely influenced by the amount of people that love Godzilla and hate this movie would all shit down the vote neck.
But they're not like the movie critics saying it's a horrible movie. I mean, like the critics score is very low, right? So like, obviously people have problems. I don't know what their problems are, though. I'm saying I didn't go research like what are the criticisms.
I wonder if
of this movie?
any Godzilla movies have high critic score because they're not really a critic kind of movies, like it's kind of just like meet popcorn, I'm an idiot kind of movie.
I think for that 90 minutes, it feels like all those other movies. It feels like, and like the redhead scientist is flirting with him all weird and stuff, and I'm a reporter, I'm trying to do my thing, and all the people coming together. Hank Azaria, like,
love him in this.
With his
him with that accent, so good.
The accent's hilarious, and him on the road, and like he's like, and I'm like, he's gonna be between the toes, isn't he? And he is. It's like hilarious. He's doing making noises and stuff. It's great. Like
So we got
character
Hank.
moments are
He
good.
slips into a little bit of Mo at times.
What did I do?
All that you gotta be vicious stuff you filled her head with.
Get out of here.
You go in there and you talk to her right now.
Nice.
We got Nancy Cartwright plays like the secretary. That's Bart Simpson, another one of his alums.
I think your story just walked by the window.
The actual reporter is the reporter from The Simpsons, Ken Brockman.
This is footage we have that indicates that there is a dinosaur loose in Manhattan.
There's a lot of Simpsons stuff in this movie, and I like that. I think as a kid that was cool.
And the reporter is amazing because he's like a short, horrible man, and it's played up for the whole thing. I like it a lot. He's like stealing her credit and stuff.
Mark? All right. Can I have a pillow, phone book, something?
4, 3, 2.
Hello, New York. Today at 5.
It's a good, There's a lot of character stuff, and that's what makes those movies good. It's not the big the meteors are just. It's like no, it's like jump back and forth between all the different characters and develop them and slowly have them come together.
It's my husband! Oh my... I'm gonna kill him! Oh my God!
So Godzilla like pulling down 3 fishing vessels, that I'm like, okay, that could happen. I could believe the line might not snap. Maybe everything attached to the boat wouldn't rip off before it pulled 3 full-size tugboats down. But what I can't get behind is the old man fishing.
Today could be my lucky day.
He casts out his fucking line and somehow catches Godzilla, which pulls the line all the way to the end and then rips it out of his hand.
You want to fight?
So not only did he catch Godzilla, he caught Godzilla running away, and then immediately Godzilla comes right back, and you can see from the moment he comes out of the water, I'm like, his head alone doesn't fit in the shallows. So what are we even supposed to? I understand that's a good moment for the commercials. It's this funny little scene, but it's so stupid if you think about it at all. It's like any movie when they're like in ankle-foot water and a shark somehow kills them. I'm like, the shark couldn't be in there.
No, I like. This is not this movie, but it's close. You're in ankle-deep water, and a shark jumps out, eating you, and then jumps back in fully as if there's no... There's an old man running away from, like, a tsunami of Godzilla.
Yep.
And the dock is exploding underneath his feet, it's really what you're there for in this type of movie. I feel like, honestly, that's the type of dumb thing that is supposed to happen. It makes no sense. But in the original Godzilla movies, sometimes you would intro Godzilla in some stupid way. Where someone would be like, what the hell? This thing doesn't work? That's not right. What's going on? And there'd be a giant, suddenly giant, how do you not notice Godzilla or something, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Just dumb
his
things like that.
His steps crush into concrete, like the blacktop makes imprints of his fucking foot, which also he ran down like every street in New York. He ruined every street in addition to ruining all the buildings.
They weren't doing very well to begin with either, so this is not a good
Absolutely,
step here.
like I can't even imagine the rehab that the city would need after this. Like just how let's say it all went back to normal and it was totally fine, but you took out 90% of the ways in and out of the city. Like just losing a bridge fucks shit up for how long? You lost a bridge, you lost a tunnel, you lost everything.
Brooklyn Bridge too. We didn't mention that they kill him with the bridge.
Yeah.
They get
the
them all tangled up in them suspensions, those wires or whatever.
I didn't understand, were they using, maybe it's just different missiles, but when they blew up Madison Square Garden, they fired 2 missiles and it blew up the garden. And then they fired like 8 missiles into Godzilla and it was just like as if you were just shooting him. Like there was no crazy explosion like that. The bridge should have exploded with the explosions.
I thought Godzilla had cool wounds at one point, but I wasn't clear how he got those wounds from, like you're saying, the missiles.
I assumed it was the missiles.
They should have punctured kind of. I don't know what's going on with missiles, but yes, it was weird that missiles did nothing the whole movie, and then because he was in the clutches of a bridge, that suddenly the missiles were all
not being a
we
moving
needed to
target,
destroy.
they couldn't shimmy off his whatever.
The whole city is destroyed. I think it's pretty realistic how the people want to get back in the city immediately.
Yes, for sure.
That's really funny. Now that we've lived through a international disaster, they're all like, yeah, his rotting corpse is still floating around and we have no idea what's going on. I want to go back and sell bagels. And they're like, let's go.
Let's go.
It's pretty good.
Do you have any idea what's going on out there? The phones are ringing off the hook with people screaming to be let back into the city.
We're sending divers into the river now to retrieve the body.
That thing is dead.
Our Frenchman, under the guise of insurance or whatever, gets in there to see the only survivor from the original Gajira attack. And he's asking, his associate is asking him questions in the language he speaks, and he does not answer at all. He's like catatonic. He then sparks up his lighter, and then in English asks him a question.
did you see, old man?
Godzilla.
And the guy answers him. I'm like, wait a minute, what? Is fire all it takes to make someone like cross language barriers?
I was
and
gonna
answer
say,
your
yeah,
question?
fire helps you understand English.
Then later, the girl steals this top secret tape that's seemingly a compilation of all the things we've seen so far, including the fire thing. The top secret fire thing guy was on tape.
Godzilla. Godzilla.
Godzilla. That's what Japanese sailors called him.
He like purposely took a tape covertly away from Hank Azaria to edit it out to give it back to him. Like, I'm like, the man would not have just gotten videotaped by a room that was only his guys. That doesn't make any sense. Plot hole.
Damn. I didn't catch that. I like that old man because in the beginning there's no subtitles. You don't know what on like the Japanese freighter or shipping vessel, whatever. You don't know what they're shouting to each other. But that same old guy is there, and look on his face of panic. It says it all. I'm like, they're shouting something like, "We are all going to die." It's great.
I love the guy eating the noodles. I was like, oh man, I want some noodles.
I'm starving.
So good. The this is a little one, but I'll say it is as bad of a plot hole as anything else. Godzilla first rushing by. I also, before I forget, I love when he just walks by and like, I think your story's outside. and
he turns around, what? And does the whole thing. Yeah, that reporter's great.
But Hank sees him, and he's like, oh shit, gotta run out there and see this thing. He runs to the van that's now flipped over, and just opens the door and grabs his camera. I'm like, it wasn't locked? You don't lock camera equipment? You don't lock this news van, which probably has tens of thousands of dollars worth of equipment in it? Plot hole.
Damn.
I go hard in the paint.
I mean, who cares? I don't understand.
I care so much.
I feel like maybe getting knocked over would jostle the thing.
If anything, it would make it impossible to open.
Or like, I thought you were going to say the camera should be damaged or something. Because the camera's just like loose in there, right?
Yeah. No, well, I'm not sure. It was on a shelf, so maybe if it was on this side, it would have fell and pinned into the shelf and they could have pulled it out. That's not the problem. The problem is it's not locked.
Okay. Maybe he just ran in for a quick sandwich and leaves it unlocked.
Not in the city. No one does that.
Not in 1998.
Not now. Not ever.
Got any glue or something? I'm sorry, I left my forgery kit back at the office.
There's like a token elevator scene where like baby Godzilla's everywhere and I gotta push him out, and this elevator has no sensor at all, and it just is trying to close, and the second he gets him through it closes, and then he's able to actually close it again before the next one opens, and I'm like, I hate elevator scenes because they're so always unrealistic.
When he pushes him out with his foot, it's so funny because for a lot of this, it's people like, oh, I gotta jerk your body to the left and we'll add a dinosaur later. Come on, man. And this is like, I think it's a real head, right? He's got his foot on maybe?
Yeah.
Something like that? Yeah.
There are a lot of practical effects, which do make it cool.
But the funniest, dumbest, worst, it reminded me of Gremlins.
Okay.
When the elevator opens and it's just like a bunch of baby, Godzillas eating stuff,
popcorn and shit,
and then look at him like, and then he's like, wrong floor, and then does his stupid thing. I think he's generally funny. That's one of the worst parts. But he has a few lines throughout the movie when they're like, we didn't do anything to him, and he's like, that's not true. We fed him.
He did all of this, and we did nothing to him.
Oh, that's not true. We fed him.
And like certain lines like that, I'm like, he's charming, he's Brodericking all over the place. It's fine.
I've genuinely liked him throughout most of his career.
Yeah.
And I like him. There's one part that's also kind of like where I'm like, you should just understand how this works. There's a Godzilla like runs over them and like dives into the water, and there's no splash like to speak of. Like it's the same splash as if like a fat guy jumped in the water. It should be like a tsunami. He weighs as much as the harbor itself dropping in there. There should have been this. Like all the water goes in the air. You can see like all the fish dead on the ground because it's dry, and then the water comes back in. Like,
yeah, I think this goes back to whoever made this, like Roland Emmerich and team, cared more about everything else than Godzilla. I feel like this might even be like a different script where they were like, sure, we'll put Godzilla in there as our disaster. That's fine. He just keeps making the same movie over and over again. So he was like, it's like an earthquake, but it's hunting you. Okay, good, we got it.
Yeah, like, they had like a hard on for rain. It's like raining through like most of the movie, and that's all them doing it. It's not like actually raining. They're
In the rain. What a glorious feeling. I'm a happier child.
They're paying to have like thousands and thousands and thousands of gallons of water just to spill across them.
So this probably brings us to the part that I was laughing at, because it's been days of watching the movie. It's 2.5 hours long, so I'm like delirious. And the ending part, Godzilla's dying of his wounds, tangled up in the bridge. And yeah, it's raining like that Doctor Who scene where he's saying goodbye to everybody. It's just pouring rain, and it's Broderick like making eye contact with Godzilla, and Godzilla's like dying. It's this like pathetic moaning of like Godzilla death, and I'm like, do you think you made a movie like a King Kong movie or a movie about something where I've connected emotionally with this thing that you killed for 40 minutes and then brought back, that I'm gonna be like, oh, I guess he is just an animal, it's fine. Like there's nothing in the movie to like justify. It goes on for so long. It's raining.
The whole
and
beauty has fallen for the beast, or whatever the fuck line is.
That's what you're expecting.
It felt like Lake Placid ending, where I thought Broderick would be like, look, he's pinned down. Let's put him in a zoo. Come on, he's been for so long. But no, you don't get anything like that. There's like, oh, you want to put 2 in his forehead? Let's kill this motherfucker.
No, like it was Broderick's idea of like, how are we gonna kill him? And like, is that supposed to be regret then? I spent so long, so I just started laughing out loud. Like, this is so absurd.
The tone is super
happening?
weird.
Yeah, it's great. I was like,
it lingers, and you're waiting for him to say like, don't kill it.
Right.
But I would have loved so much that there's one like general or whatever he is on the ground who like they keep talking to, and he like finally gets a call saying, "Good job, soldier." You expect him like to walk over and just like put 2 in its head, and it's just over.
Just take a pickaxe to his eye, like kill this thing.
I kept thinking like, like those like crazy sniper rifle things we see where like it hits a guy and his arm like explodes or whatever. Right. I was like, why not have like 4 of those guys? Like, shoot him in the eyes. They're like the size of cars. You won't be able to miss. But I'm sure any damage from like a gun like that to the eyeball, you're gonna. If I get a piece of lint in my eye, I'm like,
it's the end of the world.
Oh, my life.
Yeah.
Why?
Exactly.
So I'm sure like tiny explosions in his eyeball would have totally fucked his shit up.
If I stub my toe, I rush to the ER. I'm just over. So I feel like these animals in movies.
I'm just saying they seem to have the whole world's army at their disposal, and we chose only things that could damage the city itself.
Yes. No, but you're right. You were expecting tension where they go in, let's finish him off, and then he's like, no, I've been making eye contact for 30 seconds. Yeah. No, we have to save him. This is our fault. No, he doesn't deserve this. It's a new species. Like none of the scientists give a shit. They're all like, woo, kill it and done.
I also pictured that mayor like when he's like, oh no, we could use this, and like it cuts to like 8 months later, and his head is cut off, and it's like on the front of like the bridge to go into the city or like over the tunnel or something.
You're driving through,
through its mouth,
and like the rib cage is the new suspension parts, the bridge or something. I would go to the city.
He is tremendously large. I'd like to eat him. Let's like make some Godzilla
Are they gonna eat him?
I would hope.
What's the sequel?
Be a waste.
Eat that guy.
Well, the sequel would have been that Godzilla egg, but it made no money. True. It made profit, but not nearly what they cost. They put so much into their fucking marketing plan to try to make sure they made money.
This creature was believed to be one of the largest predators who ever lived on our planet.
Because they had no feedback. There was such a secret on what Godzilla was. No one saw the movie ahead of time.
That's true. So this is like the American Godzilla. This is like the big like, they're going to do it. I remember the hype leading up to it.
There were supposed to be 3 of these movies. It didn't happen. They eventually then made Godzilla the animated series, where... the guy who plays our worm guy's part is imprinted by the baby Godzilla egg, and they use the baby Godzilla to fight the Earth's monsters that are like doing things across because like there's not just Godzilla, there's other mutated things.
Yeah.
And he has like a mind link with it using a helmet, and I think he can even like take over like usage of its body.
Excellent.
Some bullshit.
That is crazy.
Yeah, it was.
I like that.
Oh no, I think I'm mixing the King Kong one in there too. But there was a Godzilla and a King Kong animated series that were both decent. Well, only lasted 1 season for Godzilla though.
Yeah.
The King Kong one got some movies though. Fuck off.
Well, that's going in.
Oh, I'm gonna end right there. That fuck off. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Let us know in the comments what you thought about it. Don't die in a fire, and we'll see you next time.
If you want to support the show, head over to cannibalvideo.com, pick up some merch.
And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button.
That's all right.
Yeah, that's something.
Whatever.
Fuck these motherfuckers.
So Lucy was gonna kill me.
Damn right, you crazy womp.
Cannibal Video has everything you need. A wide array of VHS and DVDs. We ate the competition.